It's just he is working overtime to wreck that site. He says it's worth less than half of what he bought it for. Many people believe that that is a significant overestimation of its worth. And this is how you get to that. This is how you kill a company, is with these sorts of decisions. So congrats to all the people who've worshiped him as some sort of genius. Take a look at what his genius hath wrought. Anyway, with that said, why don't we move on to one more story? Oh, we got some sort of bug. Are we going to be able to continue at all? We can use some elements or no? We can? Sorry, a little bit behind the scenes stuff going on right now. Are we gonna be able to show graphics or images or anything? I apologize, we might be being hit with a little bit of, we can, okay. Well, in that case, I'll just move forward. Thank you. A Wisconsin school has forbidden first graders from singing a literal Dolly Parton song, apparently a collaboration with Miley Cyrus. It's a song about acceptance, but the school does not accept it. It's just too controversial. The song is Rainbow Land. It celebrates acceptance and it includes lyrics like, wouldn't it be nice to live in paradise where we're free to be exactly who we are? Well, it might not be nice to live in paradise, but we clearly do not right now because you can't sing it in school. There is Miley Cyrus and Dolly Parton, I think generally considered to be two very not controversial people, particularly Dolly Parton. And so first graders were brainstorming songs to perform at the spring concert at Higher Elementary. One first grader's mother, Sarah Schindler, said that her list included Rainbow Land, as well as What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong, and Kermit the Frog's Rainbow Connection. A few days later, the girl told her mother that she was not allowed to sing either the Dolly Parton song or the literal Muppet song. They're both too controversial. And one teacher at the school says, my first graders were so excited to sing Rainbow Land for our spring concert, but it's been vetoed by our administration. When will it end? I don't know. I want it to end. That's all I can say. River, what do you think?
I mean, what a goofy, what a goofy timeline. I mean, Dolly Parton is like one of the best of us, honestly. And like, what's wild to me is she practices the principles of Christianity more than anyone in a public sphere that I've ever experienced. And so then to ban her song, probably because it contains the word rainbow, which is now synonymous with the queer community. That's the only thing I could think of it being, that just simply like, if we elevate the idea of rainbow, we are saying yes, or we are whatever it is. And like, either they outright disagree with that, or they are afraid to do it because of the brushback from parents who disagree with people being queer or whatever. It's like, this is just ridiculous. These are children singing a song, and the Rainbow Connection is what, 40 years old at this point? And it's all about just being friends with each other. But that's pretty 100%. Dangerous territory these days in America. Like, we're not supposed to be friends. The same people who will quote Martin Luther King, on Martin Luther King Day about like, don't judge by the color of my skin, but the context of my character. They'll say those kind of things, but then they won't sing a song about rainbows.
Yeah. Though I do have to apologize because now I'm looking at the actual lyrics and I don't know, there's stuff like living in a rainbow land where you and I go hand in hand. Oh, I'd be lying if I said this was fine. All the hurt and the hate going on here. We are rainbows, me and you, every color, every hue. Let's shine on through. Together, we can start living in a rainbow land. I am probably going to have my show pulled from the internet for having read those lyrics because they're so divisive.
Yeah, John, I'm highly offended by that.
I apologize. I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. The president of the school says it could be deemed controversial in accordance with the district's controversial issues in the classroom policy. And it would be bad enough if they were just canceling songs sung by cartoon frogs about rainbows. But to then say it, to do that, and then claim that at the same time, you're against cancel culture and you believe in small government, that is hilarious. Anyway,
also, John,
unfortunately.
Very offensive, he is a real frog. He is not a cartoon frog. Kermit is the frog.
That he is the frog, I agree. But I saw Muppet Babies growing up. But yes, you do make a good point. Apologies to Kermit. Anyway, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for our show today. Want to thank you, River, for joining us. It's great to have you here and very excited for your upcoming tour as well as the hour-long special.
Oh, John, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And I'd love to see all of you out on the road, and tickets are on my website, riverbutcher.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Everyone out there, thank you for watching as well. Great to have you here. Full run of TYT content coming up, starting with Indisputable in just a few minutes. So don't go anywhere. For now, though, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's Indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than Sharon Reed, news anchor, reporter, commentator, and host, Rebel HQ contributor extraordinaire. Should be a fascinating breakdown. Top story of the day. Yep, he said it out loud. A cop, a white veteran male officer, admit he was told to not respond unless a white community called him. He also says he was told to be ready to kill. All right, let me do this. We actually covered this same police division about a year ago because they did this.
Well, first of all, I don't know why you're dumping out like that on us. You can wait for us to get here. Damn, dude, man. Look, listen, your plates don't come back to the thing, so you're still doing a traffic stop on you. Where you at, bro? I'll be taking the route. Okay, don't do that to us. Get the f*** out. Why? I'm in a police uniform. Yeah, but I don't know where you are. I'm going off. You said Detective Robinson? Yeah. Cool, man. All right, have a good night. Holy Maryland's like being in patrol, dude. Dumbass.
The police department that I'm talking about today was in the headlines for pulling over a detective in their own agency while he was in full uniform, while driving a police car. When he got out of the vehicle to signal to these lower ranking white officers, I'm a detective, full uniform. I'm driving a government vehicle. I'm on the clock. The officers proceeded to ask him, where are you going? Where are you going? Now, a complaint was filed by that detective. There's another complaint today. Let's put it up. Kansas City, Missouri. Police officer has filed a lawsuit alleging, after being told to target minority neighborhoods to make his ticket quota, Edward Williams, who is white and a 21-year veteran of the Kansas City Police Department, said he and other officers were told to, and I quote, target minority citizens, go to minority neighborhoods and write tickets because of the belief that it would be easier to write multiple citations for every stop. Now, white veteran officer files a lawsuit saying this was the systemic practice of that police department. Systemic practice, meaning they, as a culture, were told to ticket Black communities because they believed these communities were easy to target. There's more. The lawsuit also claimed that Williams was constantly subjected to racially inflammatory rhetoric about Black people and told not to wear his department-issued body camera for 2 or 3 hours daily while the camera charged. That's actually a violation of their internal policy. The 44-year-old noted in the lawsuit that former police chief Rick Smith told him and other police officers that they would be demoted to work on an overnight shift if they did not fulfill the ticket quotas of 100 drivers monthly. If you remember, we actually broke a story right here on Indisputable from the city of Atlanta. They were utilizing a very similar service. They were engaged in a quota system, but they called it a point system. And in that point system, you got the most points for locking up a juvenile. I kid you not. You got the maximum amount of points if you arrested a juvenile. You needed to get roughly 8 points per shift. A juvenile was worth 5. One arrest was worth 5 points. If you stopped a potential issue, if you responded and you were able to de-escalate, you know how many points they awarded you that day? 0.25, less than 1. There's more. Officer Williams says that after he reported the discrimination to his supervisors, they failed to document or investigate the accusation. He also claimed he was retaliated against. The lawsuit states that the KCPD violated the Missouri Human Rights Act by subjecting Williams to racist rhetoric minority officers would have certainly reported. Now, what is he saying? You know what he's saying? He's in conversations because he's white. Because he's white, his white colleagues feel very comfortable talking about their biases out loud. Obviously, they were selective as to who they said this in front of. There's more. The lawsuit states that Williams was told by a captain to be ready to kill, and to only respond to calls from white neighborhoods because they pay their taxes. Officer Williams claims in the complaint that the captain told him to approach every car with the mindset to be ready to kill everybody in the car and only respond to calls in white neighborhoods. The lawyer for Williams, Gerald Gray II, said the racism within the department is systematic. I've come to hear these types of stories and over again in regard to, police misconduct, he said, and not just isolated to individual officers, but really kind of it being systemic. Gray added that Williams was hoping the lawsuit would bring about change to the KCPD. He's doing this for the fact that, he wants to police the right way. No other reason except for he's hoping that this will bring about change. Let's go to the current chief. Okay? So you have the former chief. Now you have the current chief, right? Current chief is Stacey Graves. Miss Graves, the chief, released a statement claiming that the department was dedicated to equitable and fair policing. It says, and I quote, "Our department is dedicated to policing that is both equitable and fair in all aspects of our duties. We do not direct enforcement activities based on demographics. We do direct traffic enforcement in high crash locations, as well as citizen traffic complaint locations. I find these allegations very concerning and will immediately ensure the traffic division is reminded to operate and enforce the laws properly." Let me tell you the problem with this statement, Chief. It ignores the reality of the complaint that has been echoed by multiple officers under the jurisdiction of that police department. They have said this police department is racist. Black people have said it, white people have said it, and we have some of it on record. Now, you're saying you don't do that at your police department, and if it is done, you are going to remind the officers to don't do it. That is it. The KCPD, as I mentioned earlier, they have a history of racist behavior. The person you saw in the beginning of this segment, his name is Herb Robinson. Worked as a police officer for 30 years in Kansas City. Says he only feared for his life 2 times. Once when he was shot in the line of duty, and once when he was pulled over by his own police department, the KCPD. Robinson was pulled over by 2 Kansas City police officers that you saw on video just a minute ago, March 11, 2022. He says for no reason other than racial profiling. Robinson was wearing his uniform and said that he feared if he would have reached for his identification. He says he would have been shot. All right. Once again, the warning signs were there. The proclamations were there. People have filed lawsuits for years against members of this police department. All of the evidence is there. Still, no actual change, no real reform, nothing but a statement from a chief who says she will instruct them to do better. This is a big reason why some people do not like the police. All right. Sharon, thoughts here?
Couldn't have said it any better. I would add the word goofball, Dr. Ritchie. The chief's statement was a goofball statement. What she should have done is started it with, as of this moment, while we're under the microscope, we will try, and then completed the statement. The details in this are not shocking. They're barbaric, disgusting, but not shocking. Officer Williams had me at his dismantling outing of the quotas, but the rest of it, for this officer of many years to be an ally in this manner and give up all the goods, I think it's delicious. Disgusting, the details, but delicious that there's your witness.
Yep, there he is. And obviously, he knows it all. So hopefully this continues as it is. We will bring updates as they develop. All right, another mass shooting, another feckless response from conservatives in particular. I'm going to give you some highlights, updates, and background. One individual was able to take over Fox News for just a few minutes. Here it is.
Aren't you guys tired of covering this? Aren't you guys tired of being here and having to cover all of these mass shootings? I'm from Highland Park. Family vacation with my son, visiting my sister-in-law. I have been lobbying in D.C. since we survived a mass shooting in July. I have met with over 130 lawmakers. How is this still happening? How are our children still dying, and why are we failing them? Gun violence is the #1 killer of children and teens. It has overtaken cars. Assault weapons are contributing to the border crisis and fentanyl. We are arming cartels with our guns and our loose gun laws, and these shootings and these mass shootings will continue to happen until our lawmakers step up and pass gun safety legislation. I'm pretty sure this was an unsecured weapon that this teenager got a hold of. We can't even pass gun safety, like safe storage laws in this country to protect kids from getting a hold of weapons that they shoot each other with.
All right, so we're going to break away there because that reporter who was using that camera is obviously setting up to do a live report there.
And he goes on to say, basically, she's right. She's right. Fox News has been the safe haven for all things bigoted and racist for years, but they are also the safe haven for inaction. Don't touch policy. No, no, no. New laws won't change that. We simply need to enforce the current ones we have. They didn't say that about voting in America. They literally created legislation based on a lie that they admit was a lie. But they passed laws over this lie. Okay, Metro Nashville PD, they would later release more footage. Here it is. You're providing an opportunity for kids to eat lunch. Maybe you're getting ready to provide the evening bus route schedule. And then this happens. There is nothing that can mentally prepare someone for that kind of individual walking down the hallway. Okay? Let's put the picture up for mass. At Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee, another mass shooting has occurred in this country. The Covenant School shooter was identified by the Metro Nashville Police Department as a Nashville resident named Audrey Haley. Police initially described the suspect as a teen, and then a 28-year-old woman and later said Hale was transgender male. They have tried to somehow affix this dynamic on the reason for the mass shooting, which is insane. Let me give you some background. A source close to the family told the Daily Beast on Monday night, that the individual who carried out this shooting, Audrey, was autistic but high functioning. A search of the home turned up maps drawn of the school in detail. So surveillance, entry, points, etc. Drake said, as well as a manifesto and some other writings that pertain to this date, the actual incident of how this was all going to take place inside a Honda Fit, and Audrey drove and parked at the church-based school's campus Friday morning. Cops found additional material, police said in a tweet. What kind of weapon is it? Let's put it up. All too familiar with these types of cases. AR-style rifle and an AR-style pistol and a handgun was used to shoot through a locked side entrance of the school. And according to the chief of police, John Drake, these guns were obtained legally and locally. The victims include 9-year-old Haley Scruggs, Evelyn Diakis, and William Kinney, not pictured. Adults including 61-year-old custodian Mike Hill, substitute teacher Cynthia Pink, and the 60-year-old head of the Covenant School, Dr. Catherine Kunch, who also lost their lives. Now, you look at these pictures, right? You realize there's an innocence about every single one of them because they just went to work or they just went to school. Once police arrived on the scene, Metropolitan Nashville Police Chief John Drake said Officer Rex Engelbert and Officer Michael Colazzo fired at Audrey and fatally wounded. So let's put him up. So sad. After finding out the shooter was transgender, Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted this. She says, while people are suffering and actually deserve real solutions, she says, how much hormones like testosterone and medications for mental illness was the transgender Nashville school shooter taking? Everyone can stop blaming guns now. The insensitivity is unreal. The ignorance is quite baffling. The evil is expected. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a person that obviously lacks a soul, has decided to land a political talking point via Twitter in the midst of a nation suffering. You know, Marjorie, when children are killed, when children are shot at, when schools are shot up, we typically try to be respectful. Put aside the partisan politics for just a moment. Try to understand this from a dynamic of remedy. What can actually work? But you don't give a damn about what can work. You care about very few things. But I know you care about Donald Trump. You care about your own political career. And you care about bigots who commit domestic terrorism. Sharon, thoughts here?
And I want to know what the woman who goes by 3 names from Georgia in Congress is on herself, talking about other people and their hormones. What is she smoking? Yeah. Because she sounds like a dope fiend, Dr. Ritchie. I'm sorry. 20 minutes after, basically 20 minutes after this occurs and kids and good people lose their lives, she's coming up with this utter nonsense. And what it means is that woman who was smart enough to take over the airways of fake news is right. Everything she said, spot on. When's it going to stop? It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, Sharon, the Congress has the ability to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene if they choose to. All right. They've done it before for individuals who decided to act outside of the boundaries of common sense. They can do it now. All right. Kansas City cop, damn shame, busted for being a serial predator. Let's put his picture up full mass. 32-year-old Wichita police officer Brock England was arrested Monday after multiple children in 2 states accused him of sexual abuse, including a girl who said he forced himself on her at the age of 8, according to Oklahoma. England has been charged with sexual abuse of a child under 12. England had molested as many as 4 young girls starting around the time he was in the Wichita Police Academy. This was 2014. The investigation began October 2022 based on accusations from minors. Follow that date. October 2022. A Kansas Department for Children and Family social worker and a county detective interviewed a 13-year-old girl who said she had been raped by England in July 2018. This happened when she was 8, according to her. The girl told investigators the rape happened at England's mother's house in Bison, Oklahoma. England told the girl not to tell anyone or he would hurt her siblings. He then performed illegal sexual acts, the affidavit says. The girl told a sibling a year before the investigation started that Officer England had raped her. The sibling told authorities. Another girl was interviewed October 2022. The second girl said during an interview that she was at England's apartment 8 or 9 years ago in Wichita. The girl was sitting on England's lap while playing a game on his phone. He threatened to take away the game if she didn't let him touch her private part. This sick SOB, the second girl, told an adult about the incident when she was 12. The woman made sure that the girl had no further contact with England. It's unclear from the affidavit how old she was at the time England allegedly touched her. Second victim told investigators of 2 other girls. The third girl was interviewed by a Kansas Department for Children and Families social worker. This was in Wichita. The girl said on multiple occasions, Officer England would give her massages that led to him touching her private parts. The girl recalled the incidents happening when England was in the Wichita Police Department Academy. It's not clear if law enforcement officers were able to interview the 4th child. England worked for the police department from June 2014 until August 2019. Then he left to work for the Enid Police Department. He returned to the Wichita Police Department in December 2019. He had been on paid administrative leave from Wichita Police Department since October when the investigation began. He was also placed on unpaid leave Tuesday morning, a police spokesperson said. You have a predator who, based on accusation, has likely been a predator his entire time as a law enforcement officer. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that this man worked among all of these detectives, these trained individuals, and nobody had an inkling, even after investigations and accusations started to launch his way? Nobody said, wait a minute, there needs to be another investigation. This is too much. What happened to the individuals who are willing to simply cross all the T's, dot all of the I's to make sure communities are safe? Put them on paid administrative leave pending the results of an investigation as soon as you got a whiff that this individual was possibly a predator. It's not only wrong, it's deadly to keep people like this employed. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
I'm shaking my head because it's so pathetic. There's so much detail, Dr. Ritchie, that makes me want to detonate already. Officer England. But there's so much pathetic, disgusting, mind-boggling detail here that I think it's fair to remind people, anybody within earshot, listen to your children. It could not have been done here, okay? You mentioned these adults who didn't do enough, and I think that's clear. Listen to kids.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to kids. Ugh.
That's right. And keep that line of communication open, all right? Children may not always be listening, but they are always learning. And even if they don't talk to you about anything or about everything, all right? They go through phases. Make sure they know they can. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable has been named the fastest growing news TV show in the United States of America, compared to all shows on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and roughly 30 others. What do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable. Donald Trump radicalized citizens. He's the chief terrorist. Republicans still want you to think that critical race theory is the greatest evil that can happen in K through 12 education. It's not even taught. I guarantee you this, David. If he would have taken a knee during the national anthem to bring awareness to the need for more money for cancer research in America, he would not have had that response. It was the fact that he took a knee for black folk and brown folk. You rather pick the voters because you're scared of the voters picking the politicians. It frightens you. But we coming. When you are in a privileged position, equality looks like oppression to you. The Karenicity runs deep in this one. We provide a mirror for reflection and a mirror for correction.
So what if I have 35? Don't hit. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Let's put up the graphic of this Karen in peak performance. Boom. They want anarchy so they can start creating their own rules.
Can you share with me some examples?
When they were running around during the terrorist attack on January 6th saying, hang Mike Pence. So those are the people I'm talking about. That's a problem, correct? You work for Mike Pence, stand up for the guy. Do not allow the ideology of politics to evaporate the humanity that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, so I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed in this country, so I won't stop. And you won't stop either.
Universal health care, raising the minimum wage, doing something about climate change and gun violence and an unjust justice system that locks up black and brown folks. We're not going for the okie doke no more.
I think Nina Turner is the leader of the progressive movement right now.
It is absolutely a sin and a shame to be in the 21st century in America and having people who are elected to office not only try to separate us, but also use public policy to make it harder to vote.
The questions that we get asked is what you just, how you gonna pay for it? I say, oh, we're gonna pay for it the same way we pay for the tax cuts. That's how we're gonna pay for it. We're gonna pay for it in the same way that we give military industrial complex contractors. That's how we're gonna pay for it.
If standing up for universal health care or Medicare for all is wrong, Jink, I don't want to be right. If believing that working people deserve to have paid family and medical leave is wrong, I don't want to be right. If wanting everyday people of this nation to live a good life is wrong, then I don't want to be right.
And we are being tested whether we have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves and generations yet unborn.
I'm Nina Turner, and I am unbought and unbossed.
When I started, TYT had already been around for 5 years. It was very possible that it was just going to crumble and fall apart.
Long before I started working here, I listened to years of TYT.
I came in as a college kid at SC. I was trying to get into broadcast.
I was in a family that thought we were liberal Republicans.
I wish I could sit down with people and give them the opportunity to get to know me on a deeper level.
We moved generations. Am I proud of that? Hell yeah, I am.
All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. I can't read them all, but thank you for joining the conversation. Democracy for Sale says, well, this blows the whole unlocked side door BS out of the water. All these people making excuses for these tragedies are the scum of this earth. Yeah. Also, we have Dino Spumoni. Cops getting commission for how many charges they can tack on is nasty. Yeah. Snack_Panther, remember for 7 months. Thank you so much for your support. KCPD, can you spell consent decree? Hello, Dr. Rich and Sharon Reed. Hello back to you. We appreciate your continued support of the program. All right, I got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off! I'm going to tell there's an African-American man threatening my life. You're not.
Oh, you're getting very angry knocking that out my hand.
I'm Facebook.
There you go.
You just stamped your feet just now.
Yeah, I did. I didn't swear at someone or have a go at a 3-year-old child for walking on grass. Wow, I got you on camera now. Assault, assault, Ma, assault, assault.
I'm not. I'm getting
grabbing hold of me.
Get off my jumper.
Touch me. Wow, don't you dare. Touch me, bitch. Ma, I've got her all on camera. She's just hit me.
It's made it worse.
Wow, I'm ringing the police now. You've just assaulted me.
You're on private property.
You ripped my jumper.
Where's the rip? Where's the rip?
Piss off.
Where's the rip?
Go. Piss off.
I'm giving this to the police. She's just whacked me one. I've recorded it.
Filming me.
No.
That's
Well,
illegal.
No, it's not.
That's illegal.
No, it's not.
That's
Take
illegal.
your wife.
Don't, because she'll
Take your wife away. You're making it worse.
I don't care.
You're a silly old woman. I'll
Go
see you
get
later.
Arthur. It's fine.
You shouldn't have come out. You shouldn't have come out. You just
You shouldn't have done. You've made it so for walking a 3-year-old child for walking on the grass.
Nobody spoke to
3-year-old child walking on the grass, and you think that's okay?
It's not.
Exactly. You need to talk to your wife.
Look, the kid shouldn't have been on this path.
That's fine. All you have to do is say, please, can you just not walk on the grass? You don't, he's a 3-year-old child. He's a toddler.
Well, you should control him then, shouldn't you?
I wasn't with him. He's running on grass.
God, you're only making it worse. Can you please
It's
go
just
inside?
grass.
We get this all the time.
That's
It's
fine.
not just you.
You. Me? And him. We live in the community.
Now, damn it, this has got to stop. Karen inspired white on white crime. Put up the picture of these thugs. Look at that. Do you know what this was about? This was, according to the argument, this was about a 3-year-old who may have stepped on their property, possibly. Now, I'm learning a few things about Karenicity. Number one, if you are married to a Karen or date one, the longer you remain there, the more Karen-like you will become too. Number two, typically Karens will treat children as if they are more responsible than a responsible adult, holding them accountable to things they would not hold themselves accountable to. It is interesting that every jurisdiction on the planet recognizes what's called an unintentional trespass. Unintentional trespass is when, let's say, a child walks on a property by accident, or a dog gets away temporarily, or maybe you do it and you didn't know that you were on somebody's property. It's called unintentional trespass. It is not enforceable as a criminal act. All right. Just wanted to clear that up because she said it was illegal. Sharon, extreme actions. We do know what is illegal.
Yeah.
When she went up and decided to put her hands on the person recording. Now that's against the law.
In any country, but I do love it, Dr. Ritchie, when you dissect these Karens with British accents. It's among my favorite. I thought I had to look closely. I thought it was Camilla at first, the new queen. It was not.
That would be great.
She'll leak to the press, the tabloids on Harry, but she wouldn't do this. Newsflash: toddlers pick your flowers, your nice flowers. They take and grab mashed potatoes right off your plate. It's what they do. It's not worth catching a domestic case, which is what should have happened here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So there's this. A cop seemingly is calling a man the N-word while trying or looking like he's going to shoot him. Here's the video.
Racist ass pig! Out here! Open the door! Man, open the door! Open the door! Open the door! Open the door! Come on, open the door right now! Open the damn door! Unlock the door! Ain't even doing man! Open the door! Look at this racist ass cop right here. Ain't even doing
Let me explain what you just saw. According to the recording, when we bleeped out the word, he was saying the N-word, okay? He was saying the N-word while trying to apprehend somebody, and he has weapons. Now, put up the picture full mass. I'm going to give you the background and what has now happened. The unidentified Philly police officer was under an internal investigation after this Instagram video reached the attention of Philly PD. The poster alleged the officer said the N-word multiple times during the attempted arrest of a man after he was found to be in possession of a handgun. Commissioner Daniel Outlaw announced last Friday the internal affairs investigation was underway to address the allegations of the video. She also stated the man was arrested on aggravated assault and other charges. A police spokesperson said the department has body cam video of the incident. It is unclear who recorded, talking about the bystander video, or precisely when or where it was recorded. But the Instagram post says that it all occurred in the city's Germantown section. There's more. Let's put it up. The video shows the officer with his gun drawn and pointed at the driver's side window of the parked SUV, with at least two other officers shining their flashlights into the vehicle. The main officer can then be heard yelling several times at the driver. He can see a gun, ordering the driver to open his door. The driver does not comply. The officer appears to say the N-word twice. This prompts some onlookers to start yelling at the officer because of what he allegedly said. The officer puts his gun away, takes out a baton, and smashes the driver's side window. The officer appears to fire a taser into the vehicle, which then lurches forward into a parked police car. The video then ends. Today, Commissioner Outlaw issued a status update, okay? And this status update is about the internal investigation. Says, and I quote, after an extensive internal and external review of the BWC footage, it has been determined that none of our officers utilize racial epithets as alleged. Therefore, I have ordered that the officer who was placed on administrative leave or administrative duty be immediately returned to full duty status. We take such accusations of our officers utilizing racial epithets seriously, and it's important to provide an update into the investigation. However, it's equally important to clear the names of our officers when they are accused of utilizing racial slurs, as is the case here. The totality of this vehicle stop remains under investigation by the PPD's Internal Affairs Bureau. The purpose of this is to ensure that the involved officers follow departmental policies while effecting the arrest of the suspect. Now, to the IA department, in particular to Commissioner Outlaw, if our ears deceived us and our eyes deceived us, can you provide some context as to how? Can you give additional information as to what happened? If you're telling us that what we see and what we hear is not what it is, give us some investigative prowess that you may have and we do not. Give us some forensic evidence that you may have and we do not. but simply saying what we saw is not what we saw is not appropriate, especially given this atmosphere of policing in America right now, where trust is at an all-time low. You have an obligation to make sure that people are convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, even outside of the court of law. All right, Sharon, hell of a thing. Commissioner says nothing to see here, provides no additional information.
Yeah, and I caught the name, and you know, I'm from Philly, but I could have sworn that you had resurrected a statement from the former deceased Mayor Frank Rizzo, who was the police commissioner in Philadelphia, notoriously racist, became the mayor, running on white identity politics, because it sounded like a statement from that guy instead of the current guy, Dr. Ritchie. They got to clean it all the way up, and it may start with, I don't know, give the citizen who recorded that a medal and clean it up.
Yeah. All right. I'm sure more developments will come. We will bring them as they do. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now, but it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it, I hope that you enjoy it, and if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is Brett Ehrlich with breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. Bernie Sanders wants to break Wall Street, and he wants to break it real bad.
Here at the Young Turks, we do our best to bring you the most essential news stories of the day, but we can't cover everything in a 2-hour show. And for the rest, I recommend Ground News. Founded by a former NASA scientist, Ground News uses a revolutionary system that analyzes where the news is coming from and gives you complete transparency on the potential biases these sources may have. That way, you can read between the lines of media bias and break free from the corporate media agenda. In arming you with the context and transparency, you'll have everything you need to think critically about the news and build responsible media literacy for yourself and others. With Ground News, you're not just mindlessly consuming the media, you're part of a movement that is working to hold them accountable and get straight to the facts. Break through the filter bubbles, the propaganda, and the bias, and subscribe to Ground News today.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care. But you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it. And I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Welcome back. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Imploded Brainy says, I am sorry. I would have taken great pleasure in knocking Grandma Karen out. You come at me or my child, game on. All right, C. Michael Henson. Thank you, C. Michael. The commissioner's name is Outlaw. This incident is typical of the origins of policing in this country. Yeah. And let's go to Soul Life. Philly cops don't F around. They kicked in my brother's door and had guns on us, and they were at the wrong damn house for a domestic dispute. Yeah. They probably wanted to still arrest you just because, you know, they're there. Time to arrest somebody. All right. This is an indisputable exclusive. Former professional MMA fighter jailed, beaten by the police, stripped naked, and we have the entire story. Let me first go to this video. Here it is. We shortened that video considerably. Let me show you the person who they were beating at that time. And we're going to get into more background. This is a man who was incarcerated for 5 years. He has finally received the recording of a beating that took place in 2012. He survived it. It was a Michigan jail. Before Dylan Camerad was arrested, he was a successful MMA fighter who defeated Jamal Hill to win the National Fighting Championship middleweight title. This MMA fighter, now 33, was 23 when fighting for that title. Let me take you to a video reminder. Here it is. All right. Local news said he would not give up when he defeated Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. Hill is now the Ultimate Fighting Championships light heavyweight title winner. Here's what Dylan said about his victory. I won it technically, but it's still a loss in my book. You've got to go out there and dominate. You can't go out there and barely get a win. The Holland Sports reporter wrote, Camerad 21 took a beating for 3 rounds of the mixed martial arts bout and could only see out of one eye for most of the fight, but still hung on to win by submission. Now he's fighting to get his reputation back. 2 years later, Dylan was at a club when he says he was asked to leave because of his attire. Police say he punched the man who told him to leave. He was charged with punching the man. He was charged with assault. In jail during processing, his troubles got worse. Let me take you to this video. It's a little longer, have a little more detail. Here it is. Okay? In the video, Dylan appears calm, but resisted being fingerprinted initially. He is then doubled over by the deputies and dragged into a cell. Okay? You're going to see these things transpire in front of you. He says his dress shoes slip on the slick jail floor. He falls, and one of the deputies needs him to get up. Okay? By the time Dylan got to court, he was still shirtless and in disbelief. He says he was held in segregation for months after the initial processing. They stripped him. He had no shirt. They made him go to court with no shirt on. I kid you not. Here is the transcript, let's put it up, of Dylan's trial where he repeated the line, "I take exception to every question asked of him." Because many are saying, well, how did he even get convicted? Court says, have you given this right of counsel or right to counsel significant, serious thought? Defendant, I take exception, I take exception. Court, Mr. Kamerad is not responding to the court's inquiries. Defendant, and without an LDP interpreter, I do not understand nor do I speak the English of this court. So the judge responded and said that he was choosing not to respond to the court's questions. I'm finding, therefore, that he has waived his right to the assistance of counsel, either retained by him and paid by him or appointed by the court. Similarly, he has waived his right to assistance by a legal advisor who would not represent him or advocate for him, but serve as a provider of legal advice and guidance at his request. He repeated himself again. Defendant says, I refuse to become a party to and join in the acts of entrapment, extortion, exploitation of vulnerable victims, coercion, and human trafficking and human bondage. Let's put him up. Obviously, the MMA fighter is not an officer of the court, unfamiliar with the legal processes, says he never signed any document waiving his right to an attorney. Nevertheless, the Michigan State Appellate Court, led by Chief William B. Murphy, upheld his conviction. Here's an irony. The irony is that there are multiple court cases where this is actually part of case law. If you did not waive your rights, you did not waive your right, period. Courts have upheld this, many of them. The sheriff's deputy's initial report from jail doesn't say Dylan fought the guard at all. Here's the report. It's in black and white. It says nothing about fighting guard. Yet at trial, the deputy's story shifted. Next, they said the MMA fighter fought them in his cell, and they just had no choice but to apply force because of his physical strength. However, in their initial report, they make no mention of having to fight the MMA fighter. Dylan says the truth never came out at his trial. One deputy, Miller, Dylan says slammed his face into the ground. And he says Deputy Cole stuck his finger in his eye. Dylan also reported it was Deputy LaBrie who punched his legs. This is the 57th District Court, right there. Dylan never returned from jail nor prison for 5 years and 1 month because of his further charges from the jail, resisting and obstructing. One of the deputies, LaBrie, never testified at his trial. Dylan says the deputy later came to his cell to apologize for the beating he gave, saying his own son shared the name Dylan. Dylan says he responded, "You can still testify on my behalf," but the cowardly cop did not. Dylan says he has been repeatedly harassed by police since the incident, particularly when they see on his record he fought the police. Still to this day, I don't understand why they will send an innocent person to prison on a lie for no reason at all. If those cops had just beat me up and left it at that, I wouldn't have said anything. The county undersheriff, Mike Larson, responded to all of Indisputable's requests for comment, saying, yes, these videos were all reviewed and all uses of force were within training and policy. When non-compliant individuals cannot be contained with strength techniques alone, distraction techniques such as approved strikes and controlled tactics are authorized. This minimizes the chances of injury to subjects and or staff members. He continued, I appreciate your acknowledgement that there are aspects that you may not be aware of. Resistive actions are not always visibly apparent in video, such as attempts to pull away or verbal cues when audio does not exist. I assume you will provide some type of commentary in your media format. If you need anything further, I can refer you to our legal team. Put this silly ass undersheriff up. Silly man. Here's the thing, Frank Baker, who is the sheriff. You took over in 2017, sir. It is quite clear that obviously some of your deputies decided to exaggerate stories and flat out lie. You don't care, obviously, that the paperwork doesn't add up. What was said in court does not reflect what was said on the reports written by your own deputy. At some point, history will judge this entire ordeal. I'm talking about policing in America. You could be on the right side or the wrong side of it, Sheriff. You were elected to serve the people, not to serve other people in uniform. You were elected as a trusted leader. I encourage you to act like it. Sharon, thoughts here.
You so eloquently went through all of that, Dr. Ritchie, and I don't know that I have the word. I'd rather quote Antoine Dobson right now. You are so dumb. This is so ignorant. This is so pathetic. And you're right. Coles, Miller, Labrie, I think you said those officers who were involved in this and drummed up that little stupid after the fact, didn't mention it in their first police report, but suddenly it's in the testimony. They don't have a lick of courage. They could never step into an MMA ring, not with him or anybody else. Cowards.
Yeah.
Thugs.
You know, cops want to be known as heroes. Fine. Have it. You can have that. But act like it sometimes. Do the things that we see citizens do when they risk their lives, sometimes even their reputation, to do the right thing. Say they're sorry, even though they will be criticized for it. Be a hero in action, value, sentiment, and expression, not just in uniform. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
Do all of you know the Young Turks?
An outlet like yourself that are willing to cover this story from the very beginning.
You have the Young Turks and a bunch of other progressive forces saying this is the time to fight for our values.
And I think right now there are a lot of progressive voters, many leftists who feel like they don't have a home.
And this is why what Cenk and the Young Turks are doing is so important.
What we've done is sustainable, slow, healthy growth. And I think that's the way news should be, where you don't rely on sensationalist stuff. You don't lean on whatever's trendy in the news at any given moment. You know, you just go with the truth.
You gave me a platform.
You've uplifted so many other progressive voices through this network, and you're constantly looking for people that you can amplify through the work we do, through the infrastructure that you built at TYT.
It takes those early people who believe that can really be the seeds of this movement, and that has been the Young Turks.
We're super serious about the news. We also managed to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We're not TYT, you're TYT.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it, though.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize.
All right, welcome back. An extensive report by The Intercept highlights that the FBI used informants, even detectives, let's put her up, in order to infiltrate organizations who believed in Black lives. Yes, we have talked about this before. We have actually interviewed victims of this scheme that took place under the Trump administration. Let me remind you of what was said back then. Here it is.
For the last couple of years, although there have been rumors about agent provocateurs and infiltrators in the racial justice movement, we've not had any concrete information on what happened. And what these recordings show is the first behind the scenes look at what the FBI was doing during the summer of 2020. And what they were doing in Denver was that they paid a violent felon tens of thousands of dollars to infiltrate the racial justice movement and become a leader. And then once he was in a leadership position, he encouraged people to commit violence. A number of the demonstrations that turned violent have his fingerprints all over them. And he also tried to specifically entrap racial justice activists like Zeb in crimes that they would never have committed were it not for the FBI engineering the entire thing. And one last point I want to make is that what's particularly troubling about this case is that a lot of the tactics that the informant uses are the same tactics that we saw FBI informants use in the 1960s against Black political groups during COINTELPRO, specifically the use of so-called snitch jacketing, which is labeling real activists and real leaders as informants in order to sow chaos and sow confusion, and then take advantage of the fact that you have then sowed chaos among the groups. And it's a particularly subverting effect that happened in the 60s, and we saw the same thing happen in Denver in 2020.
Let's put the picture up of the new face they have presented by way of The Intercept as it relates to this FBI undercover egregious operation. Now, let me remind you, we have learned here on Indisputable that one of the tactics utilized by their informants is to not only become a leader within the movement, but to then tell those who are not willing to do illegal action, if you don't, you must be a snitch. And I'm going to have to tell people that you are a snitch if you don't do this thing that I'm telling you to do. That is called entrapment. That means there is no crime except for the fact that the federal government was involved. All right, let's keep the picture up. In an extensive report by The Intercept, it shows that the FBI used an undercover cop with pink hair, masquerading as a sex worker, to infiltrate progressive activist groups in Colorado Springs, Colorado. April Rogers is a detective with the Colorado Springs Police Department, according to The Intercept. In the summer of 2020, the FBI enlisted her services to infiltrate racial justice groups in order to spound them. She used the name Chelsea Curti and said she was a sex worker. John Christensen is one of the co-founders of the Chinook Center, a progressive community in Colorado Springs, that Rogers walked into claiming that she wanted to volunteer. Christensen said that Rogers implied that she was, in fact, a sex worker. She implied over the course of getting to know her that she was a sex worker, said Christensen. She dressed in a way that was sort of noticeable, added his wife, Samantha Christensen. Rogers claimed to have a file cabinet that she could donate to the center. And I was like, yeah, sure. We need all kinds of stuff, said John. This giant filing cabinet, in retrospect, after the fact, we're like, right, that looks like a filing cabinet that would be in a police station. There's more. The outlet claims that Rogers was tapped to act as Chelsea during the FBI's investigation in Denver the same year, where a paid FBI informant named Mickey Weindecker, we covered this, became a prominent activist in the racial justice organizing scene there. Weindecker encouraged activists to become violent and gave the FBI informant about an activist who frequented protests in Denver and Colorado Springs. The information prompted the Colorado Springs operation, and Rogers tried to entrap at least 2 young men into gun running using tactics employed by Weindecker. Weindecker allegedly tried to get 2 activists to commit violent crimes, including assassinating the Colorado Attorney General. We talked about that on the show. Rogers reportedly began inviting activists back to her apartment with the implication of a possible sexual encounter. One of the men, who wishes to remain anonymous, was lured to her apartment and noted that 2 men were waiting there when he arrived. And there's 2 guys sitting there with her, he said, adding that Rogers asked him to find her an illegal gun. I'm not going to sell one to you illegally, he replied before leaving the apartment. Rogers spent a full year infiltrating the community and also tried to entrap activist Gabriel Pelchik, who was also revealed that when he went to the undercover detective's apartment, 2 men were there as well, and said their names were Mike and Omar. Mike was missing his left leg from the knee down. Omar was kind of a Middle Eastern looking guy with a big beard. Both had tattoos. Both were very buff. So Gabriel said the 2 men said they were truckers who sold illegal weapons. The men told Gabriel that they could get guns, including AK-47s. They also offered to get him grenades and explosives and asked him if he wanted to buy anything. A curious Gabriel met the 2 men several more times because they were generous and often bought drinks, cigars, and dinner. Before long, he was presented with an AK-47 by the men. I never saw any grenades or TNT or any of that other stuff they were talking about, he said. There were a few times where they were obviously pumping drinks into me, he added. Yeah. Do you want another double shot of the 16-year scotch? Gabriel said he eventually told Mike and Omar that he wasn't interested in any weapons, noting that he stopped returning their phone calls and text messages. Democratic Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon told the outlet that the FBI abused its authority by trying to entrap activists. What do we have here? We now have more individuals saying the exact same thing as the initial interview we had right here on Indisputable. It was right here where an activist said this happened to him. This is the disguise they used, and this is the method. Disguise is different, method is the same. The activist who was on the program said this was a male who infiltrated the ranks. This is a female infiltrating the ranks. Here's the irony of it. One was a convicted felon. This one is a working detective. They were literally using everybody from A to Z. For what? For what? What did they bust? What plot did they uncover? What crimes did they stop? The idea of an undercover operation is to find existing criminals, not create them. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Once again, indisputable, Dr. Ritchie, yourself out in front. I didn't doubt it for a moment when you first tackled this one. So the FBI is trying to discredit a movement using an informant in a bad pink lace front. It's ridiculous, and it reminds me of decades ago, Dr. Ritchie, when they tried to discredit another movement, and the man is the face of it. And now there's an MLK Boulevard in every city in America.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. This story will develop. There are more instances, and we will bring them to you as they come. All right. A lawmaker says you can't arrest him for, drinking because he's a lawmaker and he is immune to the law. Here's a video.
This will be good.
What's that?
First of all, look on the back side of my phone, please. Not on the back, right there. Pull out the card right there.
Yeah.
And call your sergeant.
Okay. Well, I am a sergeant.
I know, your leading officer. Before you take him anywhere, read the back.
Okay. Well, so the privileges, arrests, speeches, or debates, senators and representatives shall, except for treason, felony, or breach of peace, be privileged from arrest during the session of the legislature.
Correct.
And in going to and returning from the same.
Correct.
And for any speech or debate in either house or shall not be questioned in any other place.
Correct.
You're not in the legislature.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, you're not in the state capitol right now.
Oh, God, you need to. Fine. Call your advisor. Call everyone. Hey, TJ.
TJ's, I don't answer to TJ.
No, you don't have to, but
so
they're going to call your advisor.
If you, instead of talking, if you'll listen for just a minute, okay? So at this point right now, the way I'm reading it, I'm not arresting you at the state legislature.
You can't
or going to or
me.
from. I can, and I am right now. So have a seat, and I will run it past my supervisor.
You will.
I already told you I will. So go ahead and have a seat.
You walked up to me and just...
We gave you and your friends ample opportunity to leave. You're remaining at a business that is supposed to be closed. And you're already obviously intoxicated. Have a seat.
When you are in the back of a police cruiser and the only person there to help you is a guy named TJ, you're going to go to jail. All right, State Representative Dean Davis, a Republican out of Oklahoma, insisted officers did not have the power to arrest him because he is a lawmaker. Thursday, this happened at about 2 a.m. He chose to argue with the OC PD Sergeant Timothy Brewer over a section of the state constitution that renders lawmakers privileged from arrest during the session of legislature. Most states have a similar rule. Georgia has a rule like that as well. You can be detained. We actually had a lawmaker named Park Cannon arrested at the damn Capitol. All right? So there goes that theory. She was a black woman, by the way. 50-year-old lawmaker has now been charged with public drunkenness. It's a misdemeanor. That afternoon, while on the floor of the House of Representatives at the state capitol, Davis insisted he had done nothing wrong, while nevertheless apologizing to fellow lawmakers for, and I quote, creating this unnecessary distraction from the important work of the House. The governor, Kevin Stitt, a Republican, addressed the incident Friday, saying that in part, people sometimes make poor decisions and they need to be held accountable. Details of the incident go as following. Brewer and Lieutenant Jeff Cooper were driving to a police station around 2:10 a.m. to wrap up their shift, and they spotted people hanging outside of a bar called Skinny Slim's. According to an incident report written by Brewer, because it is illegal for people to drink on the patio after 2 a.m., Brewer and Cooper approached the group and told them to leave. 3 men, including Davis, did not obey. Instead, Davis allegedly started arguing with the officers. Police asked him twice more to put down his drink and leave or go to jail. Although he eventually set down the drink, Davis then told police something to the effect of, "You know how bad you messed up, but you will find out tomorrow," according to the report. Now, you see, this is the ultimate place of privilege. You're going to end up, mess around, and find out. It will eventually happen. It is ironic, right, that the lawmaker who got arrested supported the law to stop people from drinking after 2 a.m. Isn't that something? Okay, fellow state rep, who was with them? Let's put up TJ. That's TJ, damn it. TJ. TJ was nowhere on that camera, was he? TJ wasn't as drunk as you, sir, obviously. Fellow state representative TJ Marty, another Republican, was part of the group and stated in an interview challenging the police account of what happened, including the claim that Davis tried to worm his way out of the situation. Marty said Davis had been trying to call an Uber when walking away from the police. Marty further claimed Davis had been drinking Dr. Pepper while they were outside the bar. Not alcohol. I mean, it's 2 a.m. We're not drinking alcohol at 2 a.m. at a bar. We're drinking Dr. Pepper. Thursday was the second time Davis has been arrested in an incident involving alcohol since he was first elected in 2018, court records show. He was put on probation last year after pleading no contest to driving while being impaired, speeding, and obstructing a police officer in a 2019 case. Damn it, I need Republican lawmakers to start respecting the police and the police's authority. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They're not targeting you. They're not trying to get you. You are getting yourself in trouble. All right, this is a hell of a twist and turn, and TJ coming with the lie at the last minute didn't work. Sharon, thoughts here?
Don't forget the rule of law. I don't know if you threw that in, Doc. This is so sloppy and ignorant, not ignorant, ignorant. It is. You know, Park Cannon, the representative from Georgia that you talked about, all she did was bang on the door too loud when Governor Kemp was trying to sign that voter suppression legislation into law. That's all she did. And they told her, what? She went to jail. Okay, you covered it for just knocking, and TJ and them acting a fool.
Yeah. Probably no developments from this story, given the kind of jurisdiction it is in. All right. Have an update. DOJ finally investigating a story we first brought you. Cops threatened 2 men. I got this update. It is a hell of an update. All right, let's put it up. This is an update to a story we've been following out of Mississippi. Deputies accused of shoving guns into the mouths of 2 black men. Several deputies from a Mississippi Sheriff's Department are being investigated by the Justice Department for possible civil rights violations. They have been involved in these violations for at least 4 violent encounters with black men since 2019 that left 2 dead and another one with lasting injuries. An Associated Press investigation found 2 of the men allege that Rankin County Sheriff's deputies shoved guns in their mouths during separate encounters. In one case, the deputy pulled the trigger, leaving the man with wounds that required parts of his tongue to be sewn back together. In one of the fatal confrontations, the man's mother said a deputy kneeled on her son's neck while he told them he couldn't breathe. Police and court records obtained by the AP show that several deputies who were accepted to the sheriff's office special response team, a tactical unit whose members received advanced training, were involved in each of the 4 encounters. In 3 of them, the heavily redacted documents don't indicate if they were serving in their normal capacity as deputies or as members of the unit. Let's put them up. Michael Corey Jenkins, one of the police shooting victims. Remember, we brought you this story. In Mississippi, the police shooting of Michael Corey Jenkins led the Justice Department to open, finally, a civil rights investigation into the sheriff's office. Jenkins said 6 white deputies burst into a home where he was visiting a friend. One put a gun to his mouth and fired. Jenkins' hospital records, parts of which he shared with AP, show he had a lacerated tongue and a broken jaw. In a notice of an upcoming lawsuit, attorneys for Jenkins and his friend, Eddie Terrell Parker, said on the night of January 24th, the deputies suddenly came in the home, proceeded to handcuff and beat him. They said the deputies stunned them with tasers repeatedly over roughly 90 minutes, and at one point forced them to lie on their backs as the deputies poured milk over their faces. There's more. Police say the raid was prompted by a report of drug activity at the home. Jenkins was charged with possessing between 2 to 10 grams of methamphetamine and aggravated assault on an officer. Parker was charged with 2 misdemeanors, possession of paraphernalia, and disorderly conduct. Jenkins and Parker say the raid came to a head when the deputy shot Jenkins through the mouth. He still has difficulty speaking and eating. Another black man, Carvis Johnson, alleged in a federal lawsuit filed in 2020 that the same county, a deputy placed a gun in his mouth during a 2019 drug bust. Johnson was not shot there. Rankin County, which has about 120 sheriff deputies serving, is roughly 160,000 people, is predominantly white, and just east of the state capital, Jackson, home of one of the highest percentages of black residents of any major U.S. city. We are glad to see that it is out of the bubble of local law enforcement. Sometimes that is the purpose of attempting to shine light on corruption. You got to get it outside of your local politics because you can get home cooked. All right? We'll bring you this as it develops, but I wanted to provide that highlight. The Department of Justice finally involved. Sharon, thoughts?
What you're talking about is torture. And what you detailed reminds me of investigative journalism reports on Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. It's horrific.
It's unbelievable. All right. I have a question for everybody because it is a question worth asking. What in the red state hell?
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump, please. I'm asking you. Please save me. Please save me. Please get these people away from me. In dear God's name, please stop these people.
President Trump, if you see this, please save us. I don't even see our American flag anymore. Biden is talking with some kind of crazy flag. This is America.
I promise you, they will tell you they are Christian evangelicals who obviously worship Donald Trump, praying to Trump Okay, put the picture up full mass. Very interesting. Yes, they are praying to Trump. We found this. There are more videos. While there are skeptics about Trump's divine abilities, here is Trump hearing their prayer right here. Yes. That photo was actually captured by the same guy that took these pictures. What are they going to do when Donald Trump is in the pokey? Damn. All right, Sharon, those pictures are actually fake pictures that are done on the internet, but they look so damn real I had to use them.
Yeah, except the first one, Dr. Richie, it was a dead giveaway. Donald Trump, he's not that limber and can't get down like that. So I knew that one was a fake, okay? But this whole thing where these people done fell out at the mega church of Trump, MAGA, mega church. Well, there's your chuckle. It gave me a chuckle.
There it is. All right, Sharon, always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you. Check out your great work. Rebel
HQ. We'll be firing things up there, and at Sharon Reed Live across all platforms. I appreciate you, Doc, and thanks for enlightening all of us always.
Well, iron sharpens iron. Thank you for doing the same. All right, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.